Lots of little things. Okay. Super Princess Peach, Low Toad, in 3, 2, 1, go. I'm going to start off this room. We're going to do a lot of rooms in this run, which is in Gloom Vibe. And the reason for that, as you can see, Peach tends to run when she's crying. Which we want to go fast because speed runs. So we use that whenever. And you see I just skipped that pink box? That is because I am doing the Low Toad category of this instead of any percent. The key difference is we skip as many pink boxes as possible because all of those pink boxes contain toads. And sort of in the spirit of a low percent run of other games, our goal here is to save the least amount of toads possible while still reaching the end of the game. The unfortunate thing is we're not going to unlock the final boss, but we will see all the rest of the main game besides that. And because it saves like 45 minutes on the any percent run, we get to see a few different rooms than we would on the any percent run, and the movement and like tech in some places, or like routes and strats are different enough. The community decided it was worth making this its own category. Because the any percent, like the fact that the any percent run is like 2 hours and 15 minutes long for like, you know, top runners, and then like just as a new runner it'd be like around 2.5. This category is just a nice alternative to sort of experience basically the entirety of the game in under 2 hours. So it's just about as much, like a very similar amount of substance, but a lot less time. Yeah, so because we skip a lot of toads, there's going to be a lot of like side rooms we skip, extra rooms we might take instead. So I'll try to point out some of those as we go along to kind of give you an idea of the differences between this and a normal run. Like for example, there's a pipe like up top there that I would normally use for any percent, but I'm going to skip it, and then straight up above there is another one I'm skipping. Alright, the 30 coins I got from that flower there is actually a routed movement to get very consistently. So I don't get it all the time, but I got it that time, which is good. Because we want to get a decent sum of money early on in this run. We want to reach 200 coins as soon as possible, preferably before we enter World 2. But that doesn't always happen, and we sometimes just have to adapt. And do a few of the early World 2 stages without Floatbrella, which is what we buy with our first 200 coins. And the fact that I'm only at 88 right now is unfortunately not very promising, but that's fine. We definitely need to make sure we have a lot of vibe for the next room. And that's because if we don't, we'd be stuck waiting for a bunch of platforms. So you'll see what I'm talking about up ahead here. There's a trampoline I'm going to bounce off of. And then I'm going to use some Joy Vibe right here to get the extra height, because if not, I'd have to wait on these platforms off to the right that goes super slow. And we'll just waste a lot of time. That's just like a really good example of essential vibe management for time save purposes. And I just got a 777 Peach, which gave me a lot of money early, which is really nice. I'm going to hold off my shop visit for now until like probably World 2, because if I get 950 coins, I can do both of my shop visits at once, and that's going to save me even more time in the long run. So if I can get 75 coins between this and the boss stage, we are going to be in a really good place. And getting that 777 Peach is actually like a combination of being frame perfect and RNG. we've done some task testing on it. It's like if you land on the peach, if you land on the star in that roulette, you get 50 coins. However, like sometimes when the star comes around, like we've tested frame by frame, there's like one frame that if you land on, the star will turn into a peach. Now we got the one cycle on the Ferris wheel, sweet. The star will turn into a peach and you get 777 coins instead of just 50. But yeah, so it's just a single frame. Like we did a little bit of frame advanced testing on like emulator and stuff. We saw what frame gives you the peach. We went backwards one frame and hit the goal ring and you only got the star. We went forwards one and you still only got the star. But there's no real way of knowing like what frame it's going to be, and then we let the goal ring do one full extra revolution, and then we got the star again on every possible frame, and none of them gave us a peach. There's like no real way of knowing if you're gonna get it or not. You just kind of have to hope, because it can actually help your run go a lot faster, but you have no control over it. It's not to the point where like world record needs to have a peach in World 1, but it definitely helps. My current PB actually has a peach in it. I'm kind of trying to make sure I get any other coins I see along the way that don't really slow me down if possible. I really want to hit 950 here. Mushroom there. It's unfortunate. I think I missed a split. I did. Alright. Long trampoline. No. These sets of Paragumas are on very unfortunate cycles right now, so I'm actually doing this kind of slow. Yeah, I still need 20 more coins, and I'll probably get them in the first stage of World 2, so I'm gonna hold off on buying Float Brella just so I can get those coins. You'll notice here with this boss fight, I am intentionally taking damage by bumping into PD every time after I fill him up with water. And that is because you actually save a little bit of time by damage boosting out of a vibe, rather than manually tapping out of it on the bottom screen. It's pretty minor, but it's still worth doing whenever you can, when it doesn't like run you the risk of dying or anything like that. Which, since like the boss fight is very consistent, even though I'll get down to like half a heart here, it's no big deal. Still works pretty smoothly. Nothing too complicated to the boss fight. I believe I'm comparing to the wrong time here. No, I'm not. Just kidding. Just kidding. I was looking at the best possible timeline. That's fine. We have plenty of time to get a lot of that back. Going out of my way a little bit just to get a few extra coins. And actually up ahead in this stage, you'll notice I'm going to save a toad, even though I got done mentioning earlier that the point of this category is to save the least amount of toads possible. There are a few toads that are just absolutely unavoidable, including this guy right here. So we do save him, because he just completely blocks our path. That's why it's low toad and not no toad. And then if you didn't notice, we also saved a toad in the boss fight as well. So any boss fight toads are also added to the list of unskippable toads. And with that vegetable, we still don't have enough for the double shop visit yet, it looks like, unfortunately.
Sweet!
Yeah, we still need 8 more coins, which we'll get here. Auto scroller to start us off. I'll leave that Spiny there. Let him do his own business. And we'll juggle this one for a bit. Let's have some fun. Oh, dropped him. Oh, dropped him again. Well, he's bad luck. I don't like him. Let's try this guy. Nope. It's not my juggling day. Let's just eat him out of anger then. And then you gotta be careful here, and you don't get too distracted, which I've done before and just forgotten. Oh wait, the pipe to exit the stage is up ahead, and then you just kind of waste time because you're silly like that. But this time we know we did fine. Damage boost on those spikes, similarly to when we damaged by bumping into PD. Save a little bit of vibe time. And since we now have 950 coins, we actually don't need to worry about coins like anymore. Also, this room, we cannot use Gloom in at all in the any percent route, or at least we don't, because we need to save it for this room, because that water wheel requires you to use Gloom to spin it. And if we used up all the vibe like I did there, we wouldn't be able to spin the water wheel, and then we would just be incapable of going back to save a toad, and we wouldn't be able to do the any percent category. Alright, I'm going to do a quick little shop visit here. Start off by buying Floatbrella. Let me go over here and buy some Vibe Tea. And this is going to increase our vibe gauge, allowing us to do a lot more vibe power, which is really allows for better movement, as well as there's some places where it just completely makes things significantly better, like routing wise and such. Like there's a boss fight in World 6 that not having that extra bit on your vibe gauge makes the fight go a lot slower. But the fact that we like scrunched that entire shop visit down into one, like the 2 shop visits into one, and the fact that it had a little bit of a clumsy World 1 is going to cost us. I'm probably going to look behind for a bit, but as time goes on, we'll see it kind of get pulled back up. Had a little bit of a fat thumb issue there. I tried to switch straight from Gloom into Joy, but I missed the Joy trigger and instead just went back to neutral vibe. But yeah. We'll pull this back, but we're going to look behind for a little bit here because of that early shop visit. Yeah, so this vertical auto-scroller here may look like an easy one to just look away during and just kind of relax, but I've had times where I just fall off of it for really unexpected reasons and just have to redo it, so you just kind of have to be careful in it. Gonna get a mini game here. Completely pointless to our run because we're not going to play any mini games, we're just going through the main game. But just something that just kind of in the way, so we'll be getting it. Just use some sliding momentum to get through the first half of that room, and then you saw we were glooming through the end of it, just like we're going to gloom through here. There's a beanstalk we have to watch out for right there. I just jumped over it. Don't want to have to watch the cutscene of that growing, so make sure to just run by it fast and stay up high away from it to avoid triggering it. Use a little strat here where we Bounce off of this trampoline with Gloom Vibe. Gives us some extra height and allows us to skip a strat that we used to use that uses Joy Vibe. So it just kind of makes that go by a little faster. So we'll slowly start pulling some time back here, you'll see. Nice using that Koopa to clear the way, and then just eat it at the end to refill some vibe. Just little tech here and there that gives us some extra speed. Which they're like, my main category is any %. So I have not done as many runs of this category. So admittedly, there probably are places where, you know, Vibe can be used more often to move faster and such. But this still is like a well-developed enough category that it's worth showcasing. But as more runs of it get done, we'll find more ways to shave off time and such. Alright, next boss fight, we got Who here. First we gotta get past the little log riding minigame. All I'm doing is just spinning the stylus on the log that Peach is riding on here, and I'll just move it to the top. So actually this Who fight should hopefully go really fast because I got those extra vibe purchases, and should reduce the effect of RNG on the boss fight. Because you have to sometimes wait to get some extra vibe drops out of eggs that Who will launch at you in order to like float above her and get some hits. But yeah, with the extra vibe, hopefully we'll be able to avoid some of that. We didn't get any vibe drops there, so had we not purchased the extra vibe, that would have been really costly. Now it only might be potentially costly. We did get the dive on the left, which is a pretty fast cycle on Who here, because it is possible to have to wait for Who to wait for her to go all the way back to the right side and then dive. But if you get your movement down pretty well, you can skip some of that. I'm actually going to use these eggs to bounce and juggle myself to make sure I don't fall down too early and miss Who's iframes. That went pretty well, actually. All things considered, that was a really good fight. In fact, the best I've ever had that fight in a low toad run. And now we're off to the Spooky Mansion, also known as Shriek Mansion. So actually, with this one, this stage, it's like that door right there leads to a toad. That door right there leads to a toad, and there's a door up to the top left that would lead to a toad. So I'm just like, basically, we're now past all 3 toad locations, and we're just beelining it to the end. Kind of fun and interesting how front-loaded this stage is with toads. And we don't even like catch sight of any of them because they're off on like little side paths and such. Got a new power up for our umbrella here. Just slide umbrella, which is basically zipline. So we hop on and let's go. We're on our way. And the zipline will pop up every now and then in future worlds as well. It's a nice little way to keep the mechanics of this game varied and interesting. They like sneaking in a few different play styles, mechanics, and such. Like, one of the things I like about this game in general is that it is very aware of the fact that it is a DS game. in the sense that it tries to use like all of the DS's features in varied ways, and I'd say they're pretty effective ways, honestly. Because they're not like too in your face about the touchscreen. They just added as 4 buttons you can press. You'll see how the mic gets incorporated later on. It's not like too in your face, but you get to use it as like a little attack for a section. Honestly, overall, it's a pretty good balance. We got those vibe crystals just in time, because if not, we would have had to turn our vibe off, grab the crystals, and then turn them back on, which would have been very slow. Alright. Got to make sure not to go in the pipe, but rather go in the door we just unlocked. I have accidentally gone backward in the stage by going back in the pipe we first came out of in that room. It's happened more recent than I'm proud to admit. I'll just leave it at that. With those disintegrating platforms, in case you're curious, I was holding R, and that was just so you sort of sneak across them. Because if you're running fast on, they'll just instantly disintegrate. But I was also jumping instantly, so you probably couldn't really see the fact that I was doing that. But it's just like a little safety thing, because if you actually jump off instantly, even if you're not holding R, you'll still get the jump off. And everything will be fine and dandy, but holding R there is just a good failsafe. You don't go up that ladder. And we just cruise right past everything. Up ahead here, another door we get to ignore. We got this big boo who's slowly chasing us across the room, and it turns out in the end here he becomes essential. I actually think the frame rate for my stream is a little different from the games, because there's actually a little spotlight here that's like constantly blinking. I think for you guys it's like either solidly on or solidly off, but it just basically stuns the boo and allows you to jump on him. Taking that hit was a little unfortunate, but not the worst thing that can happen. So these dark rooms, they kind of expect you to use Rage, which is the red vibe, to light up the room with fire. But rather than doing that, we just kind of see in the dark and just run past it in gloom. Also, these set of doors, it's just a set puzzle of middle, right, 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 left. So you just gotta know to do that every time, and no problems there. Okay, this foggy room, you could use your joy vibe, which causes tornadoes, or like makes you spin around like a tornado. And if you do that, it would clear up the smog, or whatever you want to call this stuff. But similarly to the dark room, we just can gloom past it all, just see through the smoke. Back before I had a capture card, it was like, that was like the worst part of my stream, when I would like have a camera just pointing at my DS. The screen would just basically completely white to the camera. No one could see what was going on but me. And I would just be like, oh, it's smoky, just believe me. But now with the capture card, you all can see. You can get a general idea of what's going on. Just gloom the rest of the way here. And we're done. Darn. Alright, so this stage gets to show off the power of bouncing off of trampolines with Gloom Vibe. You can skip some trampolines here. It's a little tricky though, and the art has not been perfected yet. But if you get it right, you can skip a whole bunch. We actually use the strat to skip up to a toad a whole lot faster for a low toad. I'm not entirely sure how many trampolines you could skip in the most optimal jumping pattern, but I saved a little bit based on what I had done there to like how we used to do it without using Gloom strats. I think at this point I've mentioned what 3 of the 4 vibes do. The 4th one, green, is calm, and it heals you whenever you're low on health. So really we don't use it that often. It's sort of like a last resort if you're low on health and you don't want to die. Which dying in this game is costly because it forces you to just start the level off from scratch. Which, I mean, I don't know what else you'd expect it to do. That makes perfect sense, but yeah. This actually is not the worst thing that can happen. I was going to try to gloom across all of that, but instead, I'm just going to come to the end here and Joy Vibe back up, which is what we do in the any % run, so it's a nice little backup we have there, instead of just hopping across the top, which I should have done. But yeah, you have to drop down there to get to a toad in any %. And unfortunately, I just failed to stick to the high road there. Alright, so we get a nice little sneak peek of rotating rooms here, but they're not going to come back again until World 8. Darn, that really did cost me falling down there, didn't it? Alright, so this minigame, on the bottom screen there's a bunch of boos coming up. I'm just going to swipe them all. And they all go away. I'm trying to think ahead if there's any low toad low toad versus any % deviations, and I can think of one coming up in, I believe, World 5-1. We're gonna like see a little bit of room that we usually don't, because typically in any % we go into a pipe early on and like skip the rest of the normal room, I guess. Skip this. Yeah, right now we got the King Boo fight, which the early hits, it's just like 1 torch is unlit, then 2, then 3, then 4, and it's purely RNG which torches you have to go to. So unfortunately, since I went left first and it was on the right, that was bad luck. Now 2 were unlit. And it seems like it's the 2 on the left side, so basically as bad as it gets. Gonna damage boost out. Get some vibe back from the chandelier though. Now 3 are unlit. And it's the last, it's both of the 2 on the right, so this is actually a very, very slow fight. From here on out though, all 4 are unlit, so RNG has nothing to do with it anymore. I am low on health, so I have to be a little careful. I can damage boost out of my rage one more time here, which I'll try to do by hitting King Boo, and then we're done. So that was slow, but really to no fault of my own. It was all just bad luck. Now we're on to World 5. Fury Volcano. World 4. Wow, I'm getting ahead of myself. World 4. I apologize for my inability to count. Just gonna go as far as this Gloom vibe takes me, which it takes me into that little lava pit. But yeah, so usually we go up that pipe. I'm gonna go down this ladder instead. And we usually don't see this little area over here. We would usually come out of that pipe there, and now we head in here into the sand pit area, which will slowly take damage from us, but we're going to break all these boxes and get some health back, hopefully, so we don't die while we're in here or in the subsequent room either. Alright. So what I'm actually going to do is turn this on to get a little bit of a heal before I take my first little damage boost here. Like that. And jump out of the lava there. And I get a little bit of health. And actually up ahead here, another toad that blocks the path. He forces me to save him because there's no way around him. And one thing we do at the end of runs for Low Toad, we kind of have it set that when you submit your run, you kind of like double back over the overworld and just kind of show how many toads you have in each world to make sure you got the minimum amount possible to like prove, hey, I got the lowest amount or whatever. So we have a little count that I'll double check at the end of this run of like how much you should have, how many toads you should have in each world. And we'll verify that this run is legitimate. Now auto-scroller here, I apologize for the annoying low health noise. Based on the way we route like those damage boosts in those previous rooms, that tends to happen here though. Fortunately, one of these blocks up ahead right here shuts that sound up outright, which is really good. And we can just drop here, grab this mini game, Toad Tote, which we won't be seeing, and head on out. I'm actually getting a decent amount of time back here too.
Sweet!
A lot of World 4 stages start with Gloom at the very beginning just because there's just, you know, extended areas where you don't have to do anything except, you know, run to the right. So, it's a nice opportunity to get some fast speed going. Oh, we got hit by the spike ball still. Sometimes I'll fall into the lava there, so it's nice that we made it far enough to avoid that. But you can just see how I'm just constantly going. Like if you've ever seen any percent run of this, there can be pauses galore. Every stage you have to save 3 toads, and with every toad save there's like a 5-second game pause. We get to kind of take a breather and sort of think in your head, okay, what's coming up next? But you don't get any of that in this category, which makes it more intense in some ways, which is pretty cool.
Sweet!
Unfortunately, I don't remember exactly what happened in my previous runs, but as you can see, I just got a pretty major lead compared to my previous PB. Which is very exciting. Another one of these sandy rooms. Not worth taking the time to blow it away with the tornado, though. We just kind of suck it up and damage boost our way through it. Up ahead here we get to show another power of the Rage vibe. We can stomp on things. So it's not just good for setting things on fire. Made good movement there. I didn't hit any of the fire wheels, which would completely stop me in my track, so that got to go by really fast.
Sweet!
So as we hit into the later part of this run, we're just starting to tear it up, which is pretty sweet, as my Peach Split sound effect would say. As I make a few little movement mistakes, but hey. That's why you try not to compliment yourself too much in a run, right? You're like, I'm doing well, and then suddenly you're not. But hey, self-confidence is key. Without it, you won't have the motivation to keep going, so... It's all good! We doing good. Oh, gotta get down low. We actually usually ride the top section of that room there to get to a toad, so that was a little unfamiliar to me for a second. I had to think, how do I get by this fast? We're supposed to put that little platform on top of the lava geyser. And that would have made, that would have been how we rose up there naturally without using Vibe. Which I'll point out something interesting about this game. There is actually a lot of sections that, like, even though you have Vibe, which gives you the power to do, like, so many unique movements, move faster, you know, and fly mostly is the biggest one that, like, cuts out sections of, you know, where you'd play or whatever. The game, like, does not require Vibe for that many sections movement-wise. Like, oh, that platform's up really high, I can fly there. Oh wait, I don't have to, there's a platform I can take instead, or something like that.
Sweet.
It's kind of strange. There are other places that full-on require it, though. So it's a good balance, I suppose. Oops. Nice little maintaining of momentum here. I have the same speed from when I was riding that slope. And I had it bouncing across all those paratroopers, which is really cool. We got another smoky room here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one hit. And then I'm going to gloom the rest of the way. And then take a damage out of the gloom and then head in the door. Some pretty fast movement for that. Rather than take the time to get rid of the smoke. And also just kind of plan when is a good time to turn it on, because I want to get as much speed, I want to like get as much distance as I can in one gloom before I got damaged out of it, basically. Going to use him to clear a path up ahead here and bounce off him at the end, and we're clear. Look at this go. Barreling through the stages. That's what Low Toad feels like to me, just barreling through everything.
Sweet.
Oh, apparently that time save wasn't as good as I thought. It must have been a skip split based thing. Oh well. We're still ahead though, which is really nice. Yeah, this minigame we're just tapping a bunch of rocks on the bottom screen to make sure none of them hit Peach. If Peach ever does get hit, the minigame gets reset, and that would be a huge time waste. And now we got the Wiggler fight. And this guy can be a pain. And very, like, mostly if you screw him up is when he can get really frustrating. How unfortunately that little damage spot is out of reach. That was bad luck. That's going to be a little slow for the first hit, but not going to ruin the whole fight, which is good. The main thing is getting the timing right with the second part here. Because we want to flip him over again, because it will calm him down a lot quicker than waiting for him to sort of calm back down or neutral on his own. But yeah, it's just a pattern of flipping him over like this over and over again. There we go. And that's a much faster hit there, just hitting him with the rage from below. Unfortunately, the first time I flipped him over, it was just out of range. Alright. Let's just rinse and repeat that process, basically. And now we get into the next phase, which is where he puts like a smoke up, kind of like a sandstorm. And honestly, I think this makes it a little easier in that in order to avoid dying, we need to use Joy, but that makes us invincible to these falling rocks. So we just get to completely protect ourselves because we need to, and it just makes everything else so much easier, rather than having to stand off to the side to avoid taking damage. Grab a few vibe crystals to assure that I have enough for this last phase, and we should be in the clear to finish this guy off. Just like that. He's down. Yeah. Lost a little time because I screwed up that first hit, because I flipped him over a little too late, but besides that we're good. We can head on over now to World 5. Which is Wavy Beach. Oh, that fish. So Cheep Cheep RNG is the worst because you never know when they're going to jump out of the water, and they can ruin your entire movement, just throw off your entire game. Because I bounced off of him and it just threw off the entire route that I take for that room. But you cannot, like, if I had a different route that anticipated that Cheep Cheep jump that I got stopped by, a different time Cheep Cheep jump could have potentially screwed it up instead. So you really just kind of have to hope for the best in that room. I'm going to get rid of this guy because he can be a real troll sometimes. But so this is one of the stages that definitely in any percent it's nice to have the extra vibe in. It doesn't hurt to have it in Low Toad. But yeah, so because you need to use like 2 full sets of Joy vibe basically to climb up this on the left side for a Toad and then again on the right side to get out of here. In my case I only needed to use it once because I don't need to get that Toad. But since I have this extra vibe we can use it here actually, so we'll be doing that. So everything works out. And then it's auto-scroller time, so get to kick back for a sec. But you have to pay attention still. Auto-scrollers do not mean take a nap. They mean take a breath. Put that on a speedrunner's poster. Auto-scrollers are not nap time, they're breathe time. Vander Robotnik 2018. I'm going to grab him to get some extra vibe, and I'm going to actually use some Gloom here. Do some high trampoline antics, and hit the goal ring. Franker Z, put that on a poster too. Oh no. That time in the first room actually did cost me a little bit. Alright, see if we can maintain slope momentum by jumping as soon as we land. I think we kept most of it. I was supposed to bounce off this guy too. Alright, that was slow. Slow first room. And now we got a new power-up, Subrella. I mentioned earlier the use of the mic. Here is where the mic comes into play. Blowing into the mic, or as I'm going to demonstrate by... If I get a chance to, I might not here. I might save it for a different... Yeah, I don't need it in this one. But blowing into the mic will allow you to shoot little bubbles as an attack. There's an auto-scroller, I'll use it in up ahead. So these chain chomps can be really annoying because even when you're in iframes, they are still tangible or whatever. You can still get pushed back by them. So fortunately I was like on the back side of it already, so it didn't push me back. But that could have been really bad had I got hit earlier there. And these geysers are pushed down by tornadoes for some reason. So we use Joy Vibe to push them down. Oops. I should have more Vibe right now, that's unfortunate. And I could have grabbed more from that. There's a Bob-omb down here, so we'll be fine. But we're going to use Gloom here to get through this room effectively. Bouncing over everything off of that little exclamation cloud. Just can be a little bit of a tricky room is all. But we made it. Oh, wow, how are we getting this far behind? Shoot. Alright. Nice little thing we get to do here to skip a lot of the stage is ride this spear. You see there's a toad up there we can get, but we don't need it for low toad. The unfortunate thing about this, for any percent, is that there was a toad in the next room that is completely neglected because I did this. So if anyone playing the game casually just found that and kept going to the end of the stage, they would have not realized they missed a toad. Would have had to just replay the entire stage up to that other room to get that toad. Which is one thing I question about the design of this game is that, like, they create little shortcuts to skip huge parts of the stage and such, but you can't skip those parts because toads are there, so it sort of, like, feels pointless. And there, I was just rubbing my thumb across the microphone, which registers as me blowing into the microphone, I suppose. And you can see it attacks with little bubbles. Yay, bubbles! Who doesn't love a good bubble? I'll tell you who doesn't for sure. Mr. SpongeBob SquarePants. Interesting thing about this little section, there's a fork in the road, but both forks, or both whatever sides of it, have a fish, like that guy. And if you don't know about blowing into the mic to attack them, which I've seen some people do because they don't read the instructions for Subrella, you just basically have to tank a hit there. You have no choice because you didn't know you could attack. But it's only one hit, so unless you're about to die, it is not a big deal. But those instructions are in game, so you can't blame that on the game. Like you can blame the whole needing to get all toads thing on the game. Get some time back here, which is nice.
Sweet!
There's actually some future world that I can imagine definitely getting a lot of time back in because of errors I made in my previous run. So, that's all good. I think the main thing, I'm showcasing like the main parts of this game and such, so. Ooh. Getting chased by that guy. Gotta watch out for the chain chomps. We're actually able to sneak past him, which was nice. Unfortunately, I didn't get out of this pit in time because I was having a few jumping issues, so to wait a sec, but after him we were all good. Get that whole beach ball shenanigans, that's just for a toad. Honestly, those beach balls can be really annoying because you never fully know like what they're gonna do. And so you just sometimes have to wait for them to bounce around enough to break the blocks. And it just kind of feels sort of RNG-ish because of that. Even if you do kind of determine the angle when you hit it, it's hard to really aim. So getting to skip that is really nice. Pixel precision. I like pixel precision. But I have a good jump somewhere in there that I missed. I look pixel precise. what looked pixel precise there was landing on that that wave of water. That was beautiful. Some nice slope momentum through all these Goombas. And now we're just going to plow through a bunch of power plants. 2, 3, 4, 5. Need to get some more vibe so I can gloom through a portion of this room. If I can find one more enemy up ahead, that'd be great. Here we go. That'll be good. Almost landed in the water there, which would have been bad. But no, that ended up working out pretty nicely, I'd say. Smooth level overall, through and through. Alright, turn the gloom vibe back on like we like to do so much. You heard that crying. If I was on the ground when that happened, I would have been kicked out of my gloom vibe, so it's a good thing I was jumping when I was. Sneak under one more, and then from here we're gonna sneak under, because he kind of bounces when he first lands there. And we can use that knowledge to our advantage. To not have to hide in a pit for the last dodge. So that up is for a toad. And I missed my I missed the gloom button with my thumb there. That's why I started falling to a pit of death. Which looked very sloppy. But we fixed it. Good. And here. And up ahead we'll actually come to another pretty big skip. Like it's not a glitch skip, but just like getting to skip a bunch of rooms because of a pipe. It's another one of those pipes that just completely would screw over a casual player. Because it would skip a bunch of toads. But yeah, it's up here. So the casual player went exploring and discovered this up here. They now skipped where the third toad is, because they'd have to go back a pipe to get to it. Yeah, so a lot of these stages have a lot of intricate multiple pathways, but then like the whole idea of the multiple pathways is just ruined by the fact that you don't even, like, you're sort of forced to take certain ones to beat the game. So it's almost like, what was the point? But, like, afterwards, it can be fun to mess around and discover those extra paths. Plus, a lot of them come with a bunch of extra coins and such, too. So it can be worth it to explore them a little bit. But once you know what you're doing, it sort of feels like, well, I don't want to go over there. Alright. So this guy can be a little interesting. The main thing you need to do is trigger all of his tentacles to attack as soon as possible, which is, there seems to be this weird delay every single time for me, which is unfortunate. And then you want to hope, I think it's a timing thing of you, like you see he keeps spitting ink out. I need him to do a normal, like one of those, because now he becomes vulnerable after that. So I think I just lost some time to waiting for him there, which is unfortunate, but now I just gotta once again re-trigger the 4 tentacle attacks. So there's 1, okay, 2 happened pretty quick, 3 was pretty quick, alright, and 4. That was a pretty fast set, I'd say. On a pace like that, I think he's gonna go straight to the normal, yep. Straight to the attack, I can damage him after, good. Because he has like 2 versions of the spitting out ink attack. Either the one that he just kind of... Oh wow, I did not think he would attack with that side. The one where I can attack him afterwards, and the one where I can't. So I'm actually doing things in a very strange order right now. Okay, attack me please. There we go. Since his mouth was in there, I don't know if that's good or bad for me. It worked out, okay. So yeah. I don't know if, like, how manipulatable his attack pace is. Like, this boss fight feels a little RNG. Unfortunately, I just got grabbed there, which is a huge time loss. Not good at all. worst thing to do in this boss fight is to get grabbed. Alright, when he's down to his last hit here, he's going to try to take a nap. But we're just going to wake him up, pop his bubble. Because if we let him sleep long enough, just like if we used our Calm Vibe, he would have healed. So we're basically forbidding that from happening. I'm going to use this to make sure I hit him because apparently I was not in a good position. I didn't want to accidentally get grabbed or something. So this fight has had some sloppy parts, but I've definitely seen worse, but I've seen plenty better as well. So that's not so great. Yeah, I'm including my PB. Yeah, that grab really cost me some time, dang. Now up to World 6, the glaciers. So this one actually has an alternate path we get to take, which is exciting. We're going to take this low road pipe right down here. And skip a whole bunch of stuff that any percent would do. So this is a room that I'm actually comparatively less familiar with. We just want to head to the right and get out of here as soon as we can, basically. And actually this pipe right here is the last one we take, and we're done with the stage. So very short level if you take the shortest route. But as you can see, it also skipped a whole bunch of toads. So basically a pointless route in any percent.
Sweet!
Yeah, that makes that a really close contender for the shortest level in the game. Which is crazy because 1-1 is really short as well. We'll do a couple of damage boost strats here, which is pretty cool. Just gonna walk on a bunch of spikes for a little bit. I'll still take this high road that any percent usually takes, but once we get through the pipe here, we'll just go straight into another pipe shortly thereafter. Once we get in the pipe, anyway. Yeah. There we go. Ignore that ball entirely. It's possible a video game based auto splitter could is for a non-PC game. Is it really? That is an interesting thing. An auto splitter for non-PC games. But yeah, there's 6-2, so we're already almost halfway through this world. It's crazy. Which is a nice break because World 5 can feel so long. So getting to do a super fast World 6 is really cool. So using all my vibe in this room could have been a real problem in any percent. And low toad here, it's not a big deal. Like I would have needed gloom to turn that ground into ice, but instead I get to take this alternate route. So this is actually a low toad route here. All this instead of going up into an alternate path. But now it's back to being any percent. You can see there's a toad there, so of course we would go here with any percent. And here's an example of getting to use the gloom to ice the floor. So now we can do a long slide, which is pretty cool looking. And we're done. It's actually kind of funny, you can hear the toads screaming for help from inside their boxes very softly. And we just force them to maintain their suffering. More auto-scrollers. Yeah, this world has a number of auto-scrollers, including, like, one of the 2 longest ones. And even, like, I don't know if it's the longest or second longest, but it's just probably the most annoying because the other one, you're, like, always completely active. This one, you just have to wait for everything to just go by and hope it doesn't take too long, but it always does. And yeah, now we're halfway through. Halfway through World 6. It was pretty smooth movement through there. I clammed up for a second because I needed to focus to get like some good slope momentum jumps going on there. Typically don't use Gloom there, so that's a nice way to make that room go faster. And the cost of Vive isn't a big deal because now in this auto scroll I get a chance to grab some back because I got some enemies to absorb. So everything works out. But yeah, this is what, the 3rd auto scroller in this stage now, I think? Maybe it's only the 2nd, but still, there's plenty of them. Breaking that open, just leaving the money for the next traveler that they may wander by, I suppose. There's a secret door behind a snowman. We're skipping that. So all this is now a new route we take for Low Toad. Until that door, that's where it kind of joins back up. Maintaining our momentum through all these hops, that was really good until that cheap at the end there. Okay, and be a little careful. I'm low on health. Okay, I'm gonna grab this trampoline, but watch out to not save that toad accidentally. Okay, we're low on health. Actually, one blip away from death, so we're gonna be super duper careful up ahead. In fact, I'm going to heal a little bit just to be completely safe. One's enough. And we got Starfy to show up, which is a very rare chance of happening, so hooray! Pointless RNG. There's 3 places where he can show up. You actually need to catch him, like hit him in all 3 to add him to a little thing called the Glossary, which is like a little roster of all the enemies in the game. This nice little Easter egg the designers put in because they made a Starfy game for the DS. So yeah, this level has the most annoying auto-scroller, I'd say. One exists for Insane Trilogy, so it's completely possible to make a generic one. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes complete sense. I don't know that much about auto-splitters. I get what they would do, but I'm completely okay with manually doing my time, even if I skip splits every now and then. I don't know. I feel like it makes me look at my timer a little more, maybe? I don't know. And there's the water section. Nice and easy. And now coming up here. Oops. Let's do that into this. Get some nice trampoline bounces. That was a nice little impromptu strat I picked up there. Probably a lot of people like Mana Split, yeah. You know the reason I really like it? Like, if I had an auto splitter, who knows, I might get comfortable with it, but I've gotten used to it. So, I mean, it's, you know, not that much of a difference. It's a nice little extra interactive thing to do, I suppose. Oops. Hey, buddy. It's getting dark in my room. After this one, I'll probably be turning on my lamp. Yeah, this auto-scroller just keeps going for a bit, so we just gotta be patient. This is the kind of time where you ask everyone how their day's going. Mine's going pretty well, honestly. I wish I could get more consistent low toad, but it's not my main category, so can't totally blame it. Can't get too upset, I guess. We're getting there. So helpful for really competitive games or where you can hardly ever look away. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely games that would be a lot better with an auto splitter. The final split for this game probably would benefit from an auto splitter. Probably in general, the final split of any game is probably the one that needs an auto splitter the most to get the most accurate time. Because everything else is just middle splits, and you can be like, you know, a close guess of like, you know, well, I'm like, if you're a little bit off of how long a certain earlier split takes, it's not so bad, but if you don't know exactly when you ended, that can be rough. There we go, and boss time. So if you haven't noticed, some of these mini games have been repeating. So this goes back to the World 4 Tapping on Rocks mini game. Back when we were on the beach, we redid the log rolling mini game. So that means you still have to redo the trampoline from World 1 and the booze from World 3 still. Except we won't be seeing one of those because one of those is with the final boss. And as previously mentioned, Low Toad does not get to see the final boss. But yeah, so this stage coming up here, this boss fight, benefits significantly from having that extra vibe that we got the Vibe Tea. Because in the beginning we just sit here and damage her a lot, and then we undo it, and then we do the same thing a second time. That might have been a little early, it's kind of scary. Okay, but now you can see we're out of vibe now, but we still have 3 hits to go. And now we just have to wait for this whole process. And here's where Vibe RNG comes into play as well. When she charges through here, we want Vibe. It looks like we got a pretty good set of drops there actually, which is really good going into the final phase. And you just have to be really careful while conserving your Vibe here and trying to not drain your meter too fast, but also not be turning the Vibe on and off too much. So I've already ran out and I haven't even gotten a full second hit yet, which is really not so great. Luckily we got some nice drops out of all these crystals, so we'll actually get a nice final hit here, I'd say. So we got a pretty good set of drops there overall. But yeah, this boss fight can suck because of that. Toad. Now going into World 7, this I believe is the most unskippable Toad's world. But it also has a couple, two... Let me grab onto that, yeah. I think I can think of 2 spots where we'll also be taking a completely different path, which is really cool. So this is a really good example of a reroute caused by Low Toad. This world is. Not this particular level yet, though. Okay. This Toad up here looks like he's blocking the way. But, nope. Just hop right next to it and be like, hey, I see you, but nah. I don't like you like that. We just cruise right along. But yeah, this other Toad up ahead, he's a real jerk, and he's like, save me or you don't get to win. So, yeah. This guy right here, look at him, like, absolutely no way around it. You gotta free that one. And then just a nice vertical climb for a bit, working on your hops. And then we're like, okay, I'm done. I'm done hopping. I'm flying now. All the way to the top. And we're out of here. I just took that Spiny with me. I'm taking this. Be fine.
Sweet.
Couple chain chomps up here. We can actually get a nice little momentum push off of one of them. Let's see if I can do it right here. Interesting little trick if I can pull it off. Like that. There we go. Really just catches you up to the next chain chomp, so it's not a huge deal anyway, because you're kind of stuck in their pace. But it makes sure you're kind of caught up with it if you fall a little behind or something, possibly. I'm gonna drop down, because if I kept bouncing on those, it would have led me to a Toad. Verticals again. Now we're just cruising right along here. So we're an hour 10. To give you some perspective, at this point we would still be in World... what would it be? World 5, I want to say. We would have just passed the halfway point number of levels wise in the any percent run. Yeah. And that right there is one instance of how forgiving this game can be. If you got a fast enough reaction time and you see yourself going down a pit, you can just be like, oh wait, no, I don't want to die, and then just float to safety. That's one thing I think this game has improved for me, my reaction time. The worst is when you like press Gloom in time to hear it, or I should say Joy in time to hear it activate, but then like even though you're holding A to rise back up, you end up falling anyway, so it's like you pressed it on like one of the last frames to initiate it, but you were already hitting the death plane, so it didn't matter. It's a real shame and a pain when that happens. There's Gloom past that dude, but then we have to fly to land on this platform. That's just a nice way to make this room consistent without really costing you any time. Because if you just ran without any Gloom instead, you would have gotten to that platform about at the same time. But you would have also had to deal with the annoying flying hammer bro dude. So nice little vibe refill here, which made the Gloom I used in the last room worthwhile. Like, it didn't cost me anything, like, vibe-wise or whatever. Which actually, typically 90%, I wouldn't have used the Gloom there. Just because it's an awkward room, but since I know I can be a little more reckless with it, it gave me the opportunity to give it a chance, and it really, I'd say, paid off overall. And we'll switch over to... Oh, tried to go to Gloom there, but because I need to grab a ladder over here anyway, it wouldn't have really made that huge of a difference, so nothing worth stressing out about. And then we got this puzzle piece right here. This is the one puzzle piece that you cannot skip. Which sucks, because you saw that little time loss of waiting to, like, you know, see Peach celebrating grabbing it. But even the any % route grabs that. It's just in the way and such, so it's just a minor pain you have to deal with. And one thing I haven't mentioned, if you haven't noticed, I've been jumping a lot anytime I have Gloom vibe, like not just for platforming, but also like on flat surfaces and such. That is because the vibe meter drains significantly slower when you are in the air when using Gloom vibe. It's a strange phenomenon, but that's just how it plays out. So we exploit it to our advantage to get as much Gloom as possible. And also that was the other unskippable toad in this world. Because you see he's right before the final pipe to the last room, so kind of stuck with grabbing him.
Sweet.
And now these next two stages have completely unskippable... wow. Completely different routes and places to any %. So I'll point those out once I like go down a different pipe or door or whatever. In this one, I'm looking for a beanstalk. And that's going to be my clue to start joying on up. Skipping some ladders by just joying up from the other side. And I believe it's right here in this room. Yep. So we're going to go up here. And this is going to skip a whole lot of stuff that we would otherwise have to do if we wanted to get the toads. So any % runs do not even see this room. Just have to be careful to not run out of vibe when using Rage to ride the hot air balloon up. And then I get to use some Gloom on trampolines up ahead here. Let's see if I get the movement down pretty well. Not on these. There's a couple more up ahead I'm going to use it on, you'll see. Right here. Hopefully skip ahead to the second to last one and then to the very end, just like that. Smooth like butter. And my PB did not do this level very well, so we are now 2 minutes ahead. There it is. Now this stage, another reroute. There's actually a pipe in this first room I'll be taking. Right down here. It's kind of sneaky. You might not necessarily think to go here. But yeah. Nice. Right. Grab him. I'm gonna grab one extra dude down here. Grab this Goomba. Let's drop down and into this pipe we go. Alright, so usually this room, because I need a bunch of vibe and stuff for other places, I would have hit a block to make these platforms appear, but I'm going to use the vibe just to do all that instead, which is really nice. Now we're just going to go through a nice little water auto-scroller here. And we're actually like basically at the end of the level after this. So we went around, I want to say, 1, 2... We basically skipped 2.5 rooms and replaced it with 1 room. So 1.5 rooms worth of space. was completely avoided because we went down in that first bottom pipe. I'm liking that peach laugh emote there, Raw Master. Getting that hype going. These time saves. And then up ahead, let's see if I can get the right height for this pipe I'm about to go into. Usually I'm a little too high or too low to get an instant entrance. Yep, a little too high that time, unfortunately. Alright. We're just going to use this little bit of vibe we have to make our way to the end, and that's it. And more time save. Just like that.
Sweet!
Alright. Another minigame coming up. It's trampoline time again. Kind of focusing so I don't hit any Paragoombas on the way up. Just firing straight up to the goal ring, just like that. Pretty good movement. I had a pretty good movement set figured out for this one, which is really nice. It's funny, I'm actually better at the World 7 one than I am in the World 1 one. So this guy, you use Joy to spin his head around so he gets all dizzy, and then you whack him. You just whack him. And rinse and repeat. If you can actually get over to him, that was really slow. Alright, and then phase 2 coming in here. The only difference, really, besides the fact that he starts crying, I guess, is that platform is gone, so now I have to fly up to him. And rather than flying up to him a second time to hit him, I just kind of hang under him and set his face on fire like that. Because I have enough vibe to do that, really, which is really nice. Oh wow, he sort of tried to juke me out there for a second. Jeez. Like, cause yeah, you usually can use his wand to predict where he's gonna go. But it kind of did a little weird double back kind of thing there, which was weird. It was a weird double back thing. It was so weird. Can you believe how weird it was? And then we got to save D. Where is it? Where is it? The Green Man, as the game so describes him. And now we're entering World 8. Which World 8 in any percent is a pretty crazy labyrinth. Oh geez. Where like with basically all the toads are a lot of times like off on their own side paths or something, but which makes it kind of slow and really roundabout and stuff for any percent. But for the sake of low toad, it makes everything go by so much faster. Because I'm like, I just skipped the 3 doors that would all have led to the 3 toads. And now I'm just heading straight to the end. Hey Ragey, how's it going? What do you mean the meme? Talking about this category? Yes, it's a miscellaneous category, but it has its merits as a category, I'd say. Yeah, so we're basically at the end already. And we're, what, only a minute into the stage? And here's the gravity rooms I said we'd be seeing again that we first saw in World 3. I'm using some Joy Vibe to fly around and skip some of the rotating. Get a little bit of time back. That one guy. Oh, the Green Man! My bad, the meme Green Man. You're right, you're right. I got you.
Sweet!
My apologies for my misinterpretation. So here's the other long auto-scroller in this game, but this one feels like it goes by so much faster. And that's just because of how active you have to be to not get left behind. Because in a few of the places with moving platforms, you basically have like one chance and it's over. And the platform never comes back. And then you can use Joy Vibe to sort of back it up. But as you've seen, there's like a little delay between like, you know, turning on a vibe and then the ability to actually, you know, move again. So we want to avoid that. as best we can. It's like this moving platform now, like now it's gone, it's never going to show up on the screen again. This one I'm riding up, it will never be rideable again. Yeah. So it's like these platforms have cycles, but it doesn't matter because you only get one chance for all of them. And the last thing you want to do coming up here is just get to the top, the door at the very top as soon as possible. I actually accidentally bopped my head there when I didn't mean to. That's fine. Okay. Land Dork Knight, Internet Machine. I gotta hit this switch because it gives us access to the exit. There it is. Your internet machine broke and you're in a sound mode also dank. I don't know what. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, this is a nice shirt with some Kirby's on it. You right. Alright. The internet machine's busting. Very frustrating. But yeah, so we are doing a lot of not going out of the way here, which is really nice. Because it makes things go by so much faster. And it makes us also have a lot more vibe than we usually would. Need to watch that cannonball guy, because if you get hit by him, you get knocked down, and you tend to have a low vibe after flying up there. So you can just, like, have to take the slow way up. It can be really annoying. Alright. Another slower-ish phase here. We just gotta let some fireballs light some torches. And there's like a little delay before the door even opens, which is kind of weird too. But we're out of here. And 8-3. We're actually being chased by a bunch of boos here, which is like a reason that forces you to use gloom in this room. So I'm not doing this just because it's fast, I'm doing it because it's essential. There they are. I'll use a little bit of gloom to get past these Wampo dudes. Damage boost out of the last guy, and we're all set. Yeah, so since we're reaching the last few levels here, the game's trying to do its best to throw all the mechanics at you one last time. So we're gonna see like even another zip line after this one. This Toad we can skip, even though he's like right there and it's so tempting just to break the box open. Part of me actually almost did thinking he was unskippable, so that would have been really bad. Actually gonna get some vibe by throwing that. Okay, we got some vibe drops out of the spine. He's supposed to be 8. The dude. We're just gonna avoid waiting for that first platform cycle. And we got that one at a good time, so we can just cruise on up. So this room right here, the deal is if you are not matching the pose that these statues are in, when that Thwomp opens his eyes and looks around, he will send you back to the beginning of the room. So all of the Peaches were like, you know, ducked in their umbrella. So if you weren't ducking in the umbrella, you would have been sent back to the beginning, which there's a lot more rooms like that. but we actually end up seeing like that one and that's it in this category, which is really nice because those rooms can be really frustrating. Imagine invalidating our run. Yep. One of these days that's going to happen to one of my runs, Reiji. I'm actually going to screw up and accidentally save an unnecessary toad. Because the autopilot can be real sometimes in speedrunning. And there's another set of torches all done. There we go. Forgot the split. That was a late split and it still ended up being Peach. Alright, so like I said, they're like throwing everything at us one more time. So we have another zip line here, and it's actually going to transition straight into another submarine section too. I'm thinking ahead, we're actually also going to go into another room. What's it from? It was a Christmas present from my brother. It's not sure if it's specifically from anything. Reiji has said he thinks it's like based off of something called Brawl in the Family. But yeah. I got it some years ago now. Yeah. History of the World in 4 Kirby's, and it's got like dinosaurs, humans, dinosaurs, monkeys, humans, and spacemen. So yeah, this door down here, this way, we actually don't take this route in any percent. And it's interesting because in order to get that Toad at his pass by in any percent, we do a little bit of backtracking through this room. We come out of this pipe, go left, grab the Toad, then come back and go through that pipe again because the exit of the stage is over here. Oh shoot. Not get caught in the lava, please. Few sticky jumps there for a second. I'm going to turn that on just so I make sure I have enough health here, because we usually damage boost through all this. Although based on the little bit of waiting I did at the beginning of that room, I didn't even need to. But that's fine. Alright, so this is the last stage. So once I hit the goal ring here, this is going to be time, because there's nothing else I can do after this stage, because Bowser will not be unlocked. But afterwards I'll show you the process for, like, sort of validating the run, proving that you did in fact get the lowest amount of Toads possible. Because anytime you submit PBs to our leaderboard, for the sake of saving the moderator's trouble of, like, you know, having to watch every single stage, just getting to glance over the overworld in the end is a lot more convenient. So the nice thing about this room for Low Toad, this stage, this room I'm in right now has 4 corners. Each corner leads to one of 4 different things. Bottom left is Toad number 1, bottom right is Toad number 2, and top right is Toad number 3. And top left, where I just went in, is the exit. And by exit, I mean now I just go through here, and let me see. I come out here, and I am done with a 134.29, and that is time. That is time. So what you do after you finish a run of this, you just go out and you just go over the world. So I go to world 1, 1 toad, and it's only 1 because it was the boss toad, like the toad you get from fighting the boss. You go to world 2, I have 2 out of 16. I'm looking at the, for those of you who don't know where I'm looking, I can kind of get my mouse. On the bottom left screen, on the bottom screen, I'm looking along the bottom row right here. But yeah, 2 out of 16, that's because there was 1 toad in 2-1 that I could not skip, and then the one from the boss fight. World 3, 1 out of 16 because of the boss fight. Not everything else was skippable. World 4, there was 1 unskippable toad in 4-1, and then the boss fight toad, so that's 2. World 5, 1 out of 16, just the boss, so we're good there. World 6, 1 out of 16 because of the boss, so we're good. World 7, there's 3, and that's because World 7-1 and 7-2, I believe. If they thought it was 7-1 and 7-3, each had an unskippable toad, and then the green man was toad number 3. And then World 8, 0, because we didn't even reach the boss, and Bowser doesn't even have a toad in the end because you saved all the toads. He just has Mario, I guess. But yeah, it's a verified PB right there. And looking at the leaderboards, this is 7 seconds slower than world record. So that's kind of like, dang, I was so close, but at the same time, that's